I just looked at my tax returns and realized I cleared $200,000 last year. So why did I just spend 20 minutes debating if I should buy a $5 coffee? If you think hitting a certain number will magically make your financial panic disappear, I have some news for you. Let's talk about the psychological side of wealth that no one warns you about. Here's the thing. Somewhere along the way, we all absorb this idea that financial anxiety is a math problem. Earn more, worry less. That's the equation we were sold. And on paper, it makes sense. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, median household income in the United States has climbed steadily over the past decade. People are, technically, earning more than they used to. But according to a 2023 survey from the American Psychological Association, money remains the single most commonly cited source of stress for American adults, cutting across income brackets. Not just for people struggling to pay rent, for people making six figures, for people with 401ks and health insurance, and a car that isn't held together with duct tape. My name is Ely, and I spend way too much time thinking about how people in the U.S. experience money psychologically. If you're someone who earns a normal income, maybe even more than you used to, but still doesn't feel financially secure, hit subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Not because I need the numbers to go up, but because I have a feeling you know exactly what I'm talking about. And this channel is basically a support group for people who did everything right and still check their bank balance like it might bite them. So clearly, the equation is broken somewhere. And I think I know where. Let's start with the math, because the math actually tells a really interesting story once you sit with it. Say you're making $50,000 a year. After taxes, in most states, you're looking at something like $40,000 to take home. Rent alone, depending on where you live, can eat $1,200 to $1,800 a month. That's already $14,400 to $21,600 a year gone before you've bought a single grocery item. Add a car payment. Because in most of this country, a car isn't a luxury. It's a requirement for getting to work, and you're looking at another $400 to $600 a month. Health insurance premiums, even with employer coverage, often run a few $100s a month once you factor in deductibles and out-of-pocket costs. By the time you add groceries, gas, and the absolute minimum required to exist as a functioning adult, that $50,000 income doesn't leave a lot of breathing room. So the stress at that level makes intuitive sense. Now here's where it gets interesting. Let's jump that same person to $75,000. Common assumption? Stress should drop significantly. More room to save, more room to breathe. And for a little while, it does. But here's what most people don't realize. The moment income rises, lifestyle almost always rises with it, often without a single conscious decision being made. This has a name in behavioral economics. It's called lifestyle creep, and it is sneaky precisely because it doesn't feel like a decision. It feels like an upgrade you deserved. The apartment gets a little nicer. The car gets a little newer. Dinners out become more frequent, not because anyone sat down and planned a lifestyle inflation strategy, but because at every single spending decision, the mental math shifts from "can I afford this" to "I make more now, this seems fine." And each of those individual decisions feels reasonable in isolation. That's what makes it so effective at quietly erasing the extra income before it ever accumulates into a feeling of safety. So by the time this person hits $100,000, and objectively they are doing better than the vast majority of Americans, the panic hasn't disappeared. It's just moved. Now instead of worrying about rent, they're worrying about whether their retirement contributions are enough, whether their peers are doing better, whether the nicer apartment and the nicer car actually represent progress, or just a more expensive version of the same tightrope. Now you might be thinking, okay, but surely at some point the math wins. Surely $200,000 is just enough. And look, I get why that feels true. I felt that way too, right up until I sat there stress testing a $5 coffee purchase against a six-figure income. Here's what's actually happening, and it's less about math and more about psychology. Our brains did not evolve to process abstract numbers in a bank account. They evolved to process relative safety. Am I safe compared to my environment? Am I safe compared to the people around me? This is why a person earning $200,000 in a city where their friends, coworkers, and social feed are full of people who seem to be earning more, spending more, and stressing less, can feel more anxious than someone earning $60,000 in a community where everyone is roughly in the same financial boat. It's not about the number. It's about the gap between the number and the comparison set your brain has quietly assigned as normal. Researchers have a term for this, relative income hypothesis, and it shows up again and again in economic psychology literature. Basically, satisfaction with income depends far less on the absolute amount and far more on how that amount stacks up against a reference group. Your brain doesn't calculate, it compares. And comparison is a bottomless well because there is always someone doing better, buying more, posting a better vacation. Now here's a metaphor that might make this click. Financial stress is a lot like a thermostat, not a light switch. A light switch is on or off. Hit the number, panic goes off. That's the story we were told. But a thermostat responds to its environment. Turn up the heat in the room, meaning increase the income, and the thermostat, your nervous system, simply recalibrates to a new baseline and starts measuring against that. The room feels the same temperature to you because your internal setting adjusted right along with it. You didn't get warmer, you got used to warm, and your brain reset the target for what warm enough even means. This is why people who get a raise often report a burst of relief for a few weeks, and then a slow return to the exact same baseline anxiety they had before, just now attached to a bigger number. A 2022 Federal Reserve survey on household economic well-being found that even among households earning over $150,000 annually, a meaningful percentage reported they would struggle to cover an unexpected $400 expense without borrowing or selling something. That statistic alone should stop people in their tracks. This isn't a poverty problem. This is a behavior and expectation problem layered on top of a psychology problem. So what actually causes the panic checking, the 20 minutes of debating a coffee purchase, the compulsive refreshing of a banking app that has the same number in it as it did an hour ago? Here's what I think is really going on. It's not about the money in the account. It's about identity and control. Checking the account repeatedly isn't really about verifying a balance. It's a nervous system trying to locate certainty in an environment that feels fundamentally unpredictable. Rent goes up. Healthcare costs shift. Job security in most industries feels less guaranteed than it did for previous generations. According to Pew Research, a majority of American adults report feeling that their income is not keeping pace with the cost of living, even when their actual income has technically increased. That gap between "I am earning more" and "I still feel behind" is where the anxiety lives. Now let's talk about why this specifically shows up so intensely in the United States, because context matters here. Healthcare in this country is tied to employment for most people, which means financial anxiety isn't just about lifestyle. It's about a genuine, structural fear that one job loss or one diagnosis away from crisis. Housing costs have outpaced wage growth in most major metro areas for over a decade, according to data tracked by the National Association of Realtors alongside BLS wage figures. And there is no strong cultural permission slip in America to simply say, "I earn enough, and I'm done striving." The entire culture is built around the next milestone, the next raise, the next house, the next tier of car. There's always a next. So combine an economy where basic security costs are genuinely rising, a culture that treats ambition as identity, and a brain that measures safety through comparison rather than absolute numbers, and you get exactly this scenario. A person clearing $200,000 who still debates a $5 coffee. Not because the coffee is unaffordable, but because the debate was never really about the coffee. It was the nervous system looking for one small area where it could exert control. Now you might be thinking, okay, Ely, this is a nice explanation, but what do I actually do about it? Fair. Let's get practical, because understanding the psychology without changing behavior is just an expensive therapy session with extra steps. First, separate your baseline expenses from your comparison expenses. Sit down and actually write out what it costs to maintain your life: housing, food, insurance, transportation, minimum debt payments. That number is your real floor. Everything above that floor is either genuine savings and investing, or it's lifestyle spending influenced by comparison. Just seeing that split on paper does something powerful. It turns a vague, floating anxiety into a specific, addressable number. Second, build what I'd call a friction fund. Not a huge emergency fund goal that feels impossibly far away, but a smaller, immediate buffer somewhere between $1,000 and $2,000, sitting in a separate account you don't touch for daily spending. The Federal Reserve data I mentioned earlier about people struggling with a $400 expense, that's the exact gap this fund closes. Having even a modest buffer measurably reduces the moment-to-moment panic, because your brain finally has a real answer to what happens if something goes wrong, instead of a vague, catastrophic guess. Third, and this one is uncomfortable, audit your comparison inputs. Notice where your sense of enough is being set. Is it set by your own actual costs and goals? Or is it being quietly set by social media, coworkers, or a lifestyle you absorbed without questioning? This doesn't mean abandoning ambition. It means making sure your ambition is actually yours, not a reaction to someone else's highlight reel. Fourth, automate the decision that lifestyle creep tries to make automatically for you. Every time your income increases, decide in advance, before the money even hits your account, what percentage goes to savings or investing before your lifestyle gets a vote. This flips the default. Instead of upgrading everything and seeing what's left, you protect a portion first and let the upgrades happen with what remains. Here's the calm, honest takeaway. The panic doesn't disappear at a number because the panic was never really about the number. It's about safety, comparison, and identity. Three things that no single paycheck, raise, or bonus can fully resolve on its own. But understanding that shifts the entire game. You stop chasing a mythical income level where anxiety magically evaporates, and you start building actual, boring, unglamorous stability, a real floor, a real buffer, a real sense of what enough looks like for your own life. That's not as exciting as a big number, but it's the thing that actually lets you drink the $5 coffee without a 20-minute internal debate. And honestly, that's worth more than the extra zero on a tax return.